When we talk about being young,
Later in the
we often
conversation,
think of freedom.
Ryder revealed that
It's a
he had
time when
discovered Allison
responsibilities
Voss
haven't quite
had
set in
previously
yet.
threatened to kill
But life
Aisha
moves at a
Beasley.
rapid pace.
As a former
The
licensed
peak of
boxer,
youth,
Beasley
college,
was more physically
this place
imposing than she was.
where freedom is experienced
So how
most
exactly could
intensely,
this have happened?
with new people, new experiences, and some nights when even our limits are pushed, imprints the bittersweet side of freedom deep within us. Let's face it, these nights are just ordinary nights. The crowds, the music so loud we can't hear each other, the chaos we think we're in control of. A little alcohol, a little fun, moments we'll forget most of the next day. But some nights, things don't go as planned. And sometimes, someone doesn't come back.
I don't know what my sister went through that night. I don't know, and no one can explain it to me. No one. So who's gonna explain this to me? Who?
But we don't notice the void among us until someone speaks up.
When the case first came before me, what caught my attention was the discrepancy between the account of the incident and the physical reality. At first, the incident was described in simple terms. During a group hike, 2 people fell behind. Later, one returned in tears and said the other had fallen off a cliff. On paper, this is truly a tragic but plausible accident, isn't it? But not for us. As the DA's office, we felt it was necessary to look into this matter, because what the prosecutor's office is concerned with is not stories, but the totality of physical evidence.
In this situation, Chester Reiner came across a detail that was not immediately apparent, but that a professional investigator might have picked up on after a moment's thought and a closer examination of the area. It was precisely at this point that the witnesses were questioned.
When the forensic reports, the angle of the fall, the distribution of injuries, and the structure of the cliff were examined, it became clear that the incident wasn't as simple as it was described. I remember that very clearly. I was one of those sent to investigate the area. The spot where the victim, Aisha Beasley, was alleged to have fallen consisted of soft soil and about 3 meters further down from the cliff's edge, rocky terrain. I can explain it this way. If you were falling off a cliff, you'd probably land right at the base of the slope, wouldn't you? However, the spot where Aisha's body was found wasn't at the base of the slope. She had gained momentum in the air for about 1 or 2 meters before hitting the ground. The police were proceeding on the assumption that it was an accident. Were they considering the possibility of murder? They were, but they were either hesitant to pursue it or simply not taking it seriously enough. In this situation, something troubled me. I have handled hundreds of cases, thousands of investigations and prosecutions across the state, Mr. Spanakos. In my legal philosophy, assumptions are dangerous, especially in homicide investigations. At one point, the district attorney's office became more actively involved in the case and requested that the forensic analysis be expanded. In addition to the local law enforcement's own investigation, the district attorney's office and the Bureau of Investigations decided to conduct their own investigation and played a significant role in expanding the probe. Deaths involving college students always attract public attention, especially when the incident occurs among students at a prestigious institution like the University of Los Santos. The press and social media were closely following the investigation. The public naturally asked questions. Social media and media outlets demanded that the incident be clarified. This is understandable. However, the prosecutor's office bases its decisions not on trends, social media, or comments, but solely on evidence. If there is evidence, you file a case. If there is no evidence, you close the case. Public attention merely increases the visibility of the process, and that is exactly what happened in the murder of Aisha Beasley. Universities generally prefer to wait for statements from official authorities during ongoing investigations. In such cases, sharing inaccurate or incomplete information can negatively impact both the investigation and the families involved. As far as I know, this is why the administration hesitated to issue a statement. Although the prosecutor's office did not issue a direct directive to the university in this instance, we had previously informed those involved in the investigation that they should refrain from speaking out. The initial report indicated that 2 of their friends were missing. For this reason, they had requested rescue teams to be dispatched to the area. Colin Gardner was the leader of the group that made the initial report. Subsequently, Allison Voss ran toward the group in tears and claimed that Aisha Beasley had fallen off a cliff. Following this, the incident was clarified based on subsequent reports from Colin Gardner and the others with him. As far as I recall, Gardner was a difficult student. He didn't get along well with his peers. He had issues with almost everyone. Still, he enjoyed taking the lead and making an appearance at university events. He also had a few issues with Allison Voss and Aisha Beasley, but these were never problems that could escalate to a serious threat level. Additionally, Colin had requested a guide for the area from university administration, but never received a response. The students, however, stated that they had made their way to the area entirely on their own initiative. Based on the evidence gathered, the transcripts reviewed, and the analysis of over 2,000 pieces of data, it was concluded that Colin had no involvement in this murder. Nevertheless, we know that the reason Aisha and Allison broke away from the group and fell behind was due to their strained relationship with Colin Gardner. This is because we had heard strong, multiple eyewitness accounts indicating that an argument had broken out between them that night. The university administration should not be held directly responsible, as this was not an event that had been approved by them. If it had been, and if they had provided a guide, then we might have been justified in blaming the university. People naturally want to see quick results, especially when a tragic incident involving the loss of a young person's life is at stake. A great deal of sensitivity arises in society, and everyone expects an immediate answer. The police investigation conducted in the initial phase too quickly labeled the incident as an accident. When information came in that a student had fallen off a cliff during the camp, the teams dispatched to the scene acted largely based on witness accounts and first impressions. Looking at how the initial reports were prepared, we see that some critical questions were not asked by the police department early enough. Another issue was a lack of coordination. There were occasional communication breakdowns between the police investigation and the forensic examinations. This is precisely where the prosecutor's office stepped in. In cases like this, crime scene investigation units and forensic experts must collaborate at a very early stage. In this case, the reconstruction work conducted by the coroner completely changed the direction of the investigation. If these scientific examinations had been initiated earlier, the period of uncertainty among the public would likely have been shorter. The police department was far too late in addressing this matter. However, I will not shy away from stating the following. The fact that initial assessments in this case were conducted too hastily led to some evidence being analyzed later than it should have been. This was one of the reasons why the prosecution took a more active role in handling the case.
Later in the conversation, Reiter revealed that he had discovered Allison Voss had previously threatened to kill Beasley. As a former licensed boxer, Beasley was more physically imposing than she was. So how exactly could this have happened?
Allison couldn't physically overpower him, and she realized that the best opportunity was the cliff right at their feet. While Aisha had her back turned, she pushed her off the cliff. If Aisha's foot had slipped, she would have fallen onto the cliff's edge. But that didn't happen. She fell onto the rocks about 2 meters beyond the cliff and lost her life. In her statement, Allison Voss claimed she had gone down to the bottom of the cliff to help Aisha, but had failed. Following forensic examinations, no footprints other than Aisha Beasley's and those of law enforcement officers were found at the bottom of the cliff. There were claims that a secret romance was taking place between them. However, neither Aisha nor Allison had ever disclosed the situation to their friends or law enforcement. We were only able to access the messages after Aisha's death and clarify the situation. Unfortunately, we had no prior knowledge of it.